Warm greetings to all of you. I hope all of you are following precautions prescribed by the government and taking good care of yourself and those around you by remaining socially distanced. My name is Priyadarshini. I'm an advocate practicing in Chennai. I've been asked to talk about Epidemic Diseases Act 1897 and its relevance in the present day. The act itself was passed during the British era in India when there was a bubonic plague, which is an epidemic that broke into the world, and it was spreading like mad, and it was affecting trade all over. And it was a time where a lot of ships and vessels used to arrive. So, in these circumstances, the act was quickly passed in India at a time where there was no central legislation in place. This gave this is an empowering legislation placing powers in the hands of the executive to make rules. It's like an outsourcing from legislature to executive to make temporary regulations for the prevention of spread of dangerous diseases. The act itself has only 4 sections, which is the shortest legislation in India. The act pretty much is a powerful one at that, because section 2 empowers them for it gives an illustration as well, which is inspecting a vessel which comes into India, or and to check all the passengers and asking them to take necessary quarantine measures, and also to pass temporary regulations. It places a lot of power in the hands of state governments to pass such regulatory measures which are required and which may otherwise cause impediment to the fundamental rights available under the Constitution for a citizen of India. In these circumstances, if you look at the Act itself, apart from Section 2 and 3, which is empowering and placing a lot of powers for passing temporary regulations, Section 3 is a section which imposes penalty, and it relates back to Section 188 of the Indian Penal Code, which is basically a power to punish anyone who violates any laws promulgated, any ordinances promulgated in India, with a imprisonment up to 6 months and a fine up to 1,000 rupees. This is the situation, and one more thing to be noted is Section 4, which is an immunity. It is a all-encompassing immunity given to any person, any government, any department who would be acting under this act, under these ordinances, and would be, it could be preventing somebody from, exercising their fundamental rights, or it could be any of that, to give them sort of an immunity from any legal actions that can be taken against them while they are performing under this act. Cutting to the present scenario, if you look at the present scenario in India right now, while the pandemic has broken out, one, it was notified that it is an epidemic disease. Who was it notified by? It was notified by the state governments. The state governments, for instance, Delhi as well as Kerala, has passed its own regulations, ordinances under the Epidemic Diseases Act, and has a detailed sort of a 2 to 3 page regulations with respect to what acts can be done, and it refers back to the act, and then it refers back to Section 188. In fact, Kerala has made the fine up to 10,000 and imprisonment up to 2 years. So Delhi and Kerala were sort of the first states to come out with these ordinances. Tamil Nadu has also come out with certain ordinances for regulating the situation presently, and these are the temporary regulations that are made for the pandemic in India. Keeping this aside, there is a large reliance placed on by Tamil Nadu or whichever state. A large reliance is placed under Disaster Management Act 2005, which is a slightly more elaborate act which covers provisions with respect to what would constitute a disaster. For instance, section 51 to nearly 71, if I'm not mistaken about the section numbers, those sections provide with respect to the punishment which can be carried out, the penal provisions with respect to what happens in case of a violation. And uh, if you look at the regulations, for instance, in Tamil Nadu as well as Delhi, it refers to two punishments, one under section 188 of the Indian Penal Code and two under the Disaster Management Act. So these are, so right now as a rescue, we have a large reliance placed on the Disaster Management Act as opposed to Epidemic Diseases Act itself, which is basically an act which is just an enabling act to pass relevant provisions and relevant laws at the time of an epidemic disease. To the extent that the act does not define what is epidemic, what is contagious, what is infectious, etc. There was at the time that this act was passed, UK had a public health regulation. It had a regulation consisting of at least 350 sections, which is unwholesome. They had all sorts of provisions which required the government to take care of the sewerage and local bodies, that is, and to punish them if those regulations were not met with. It has a lot of regulations with respect to public hygiene, a lot of rights available to the citizens who are defined very clearly. And if you look at the corresponding provisions relating to penalty or with relation to immunity specifically, it is defined very specifically as to when and how the immunity is applicable, instead of giving a very large bracketed immunity as given under the Epidemic Diseases Act. Under the present situation, the Home Ministry has been acting up a lot in passing certain government orders. For instance, the latest of our orders that we can refer to, apart from the general lockdown which was announced nationwide, the so coming back to that, so the nationwide lockdown was initially announced under section 144 of the IPC, Indian Penal Code. Later on, it migrated to Disaster Management Act, which is slightly more detailed and which is slightly more specific than the Indian Penal Code, which is functioning very well but has very generic sort of approach. So coming back to this, the Home Ministry had passed two regulations. Governmental orders, out of which I would refer to the recent two orders, which is an order passed on 15th April 2020, which kind of relaxed the entire lockdown and set out that for the purpose of essentials to be available, certain sectors of the government or certain sectors of in the private can function. For instance, construction can happen in rural areas. Uh, uh, it wasn't very clear as to what kind of construction, but I'm presuming they were referring to necessary constructions like even hospitals. There is another order passed referring to the 15th April of order on 24th April 2020, which basically again relaxed the provisions a lot more and kind of eased in and said that standalone shops could be open and the malls and other crowded places will remain shut. So the Home Ministry, apart from the Home Ministry, who has played an active role in this, and the state governments obviously who are playing very active roles in drawing powers under the Epidemic Diseases Act, who are passing regulations. If you look at The other bodies that are relevant is there is something called a rapid response team, uh, which is constituted under the disease control. There is one more body called National Institute of Communicable Diseases. It had interestingly referred to a it had recommended a Public Health Act in 1955, and it had in fact amended that bylaws or the act in 1987. Uh, Later on, the Constitution of National Institute of Communicable Diseases changed into National Center for Disease Control. So this particular department has in fact regulated and passed guidelines of sorts during the times of cholera, or there are many such diseases that had taken place in India, like the H1N1, the plague, chikungunya, dengue, malaria, and just before our coronavirus that has now taken over the world, there was Nipah virus that was prevalent in Kerala. So we have seen, I'm just giving you these examples to say that this is not something very new, very novel that is faced in today's times. These are, there are this many number of diseases, these many number of epidemics that have in fact happened in India, in different parts of India, from Bombay to Kerala to Gujarat. There has been so many instances of all these diseases, including even cholera in 1992, uh, as well as Nipah as recent as in the 2000s. So having, there are these bodies which are like the National Center for Disease Control, which has passed these guidelines, which is keeping tab of these diseases as such. There is unfortunately no centralized legislation till date. There was a public health bill that was drafted in the year 2009, that never saw the light of the day. It never got passed. That has definitions for infectious disease. It kind of gives us a slightly more detailed aspects to what all would come under. It covers the sewerage, and it covers certain aspects which are necessary for public hygiene, which unless we have a set of the generic norms, we are placing a huge amount of faith and trust in the current leaders and hoping that they would know what to do best to control a disease. So, more than saying that these are the drawbacks of having this act, I would say the need of the hour itself is to kind of get a grasp of where it has started from, and to kind of drag it to the present and see if we can do certain remedial thing and look at it in a very relevant present circumstances. Uh, the first thing that I would point out itself, as I stated in the beginning, is the circumstances surrounding the passing of Epidemic Diseases Act in 1897. It was a time where British era was in India, and there was bubonic plague, and there was a lot of trade happening. So the need of the hour for them was to ensure that they take matters in their hand, and they had that free hand to pass such regulations as necessary, without the presence of a centralized legislation in India. Uh, this kind of, with the background that UK itself had a very large legislation, about 350 sections in it, defining what is there in the, how sewerage is to be taken care of, how public hygiene, and it had penal provisions with respect to it has penal provisions with respect to if a local body is not complying with certain public hygiene requirements. In those circumstances, they still passed a regulation here, or passed an act here, which is an empowering legislation, uh, without having a centralized list of required measures to be taken, even in normal times, even otherwise. So the act lacks, what it lacks majorly is what are the duties of the local bodies in times which are normal and in times of an epidemic as such. What are the rights available to the citizens? For instance, their well-being in terms of there should be a maintenance of an air quality. There should be maintenance of public hygiene, sewerage, etc. They have a right to uh, know what would be, how would be the hospitals maintained at these situations, or even in normal circumstances. They should also have a right to know through this legislation as to how the vaccines will be administered at a time where there is going to be so much of a chaos. If there is some sort of a guidelines that the executive could rely on, instead of having to hope that the leaders will come out with like very creative methods and have answers to everything at a time that the crisis has arisen already. Um, Having a centralized legislation with respect to all of this would be of great help. One more thing that we should look at is the power of immunization given. As of now, the judiciary is completely cut off. There is no scope for the immunity given under Section 4. The entire actions that the executive takes is, we just have to hope that it doesn't it is fair. There is no definition of fair. It could at a time of crisis, it could just, without any definition of what is required amount of power to be taken, and what is the amount of violence to be administered, it could go astray. uh, I would say that it is also important to have something like a public health regulatory, which will go ahead and go every once in a while periodically. It would review the legislations. It would look at the present circumstances, including the social changes that has been happening. For instance, the act refers only to arrival of a ship or a vessel. Today there is so many flights, and travel is opened up for the entire public. Every I know this was at a time where people, even Indians, for traveling from state to state, it was such a difficult task. And then the railways was introduced. Though there are provisions with respect to railways in the Epidemic Diseases Act. Today's railways, we have super fast trains. The what I'm trying to get at is, there is so much flexibility in terms of mobility. People go and settle in a different place. So the laws regulating that place, the leaders regulating that place, uh, becomes more important in this context. The Act does not anticipate any of this. The Act does not cover any of these situations. It does not cover air travel. It does not take into account the kind of social changes we have gone through. In terms of, there are so many foreigners who would come down, and there are regular meetings that are organized by many corporates. It's not just the delegates who enter the country anymore. It's not just the tourists who visit. There are so many official meetings which happen over about half a day, one day. Why am I elaborating on all these? Is these are circumstances which are very real, and these are the things that have to be taken in for molding and preparing an act itself. Even the public health bill has to be modified to that extent and passed as an act for uh, for an effective working of this uh, Epidemic Diseases Act itself, which also needs probably some amendments and reliance to be placed on the Public Health Act to be passed centrally. For instance, back in the day, Tamil Nadu, uh, there was an act passed, Madras Public Health Act in Tamil Nadu. Similarly, Cochin Public Health Act has been passed. So the in the municipalities of Kerala, there are a couple of other health acts that have been passed. These acts have a semblance to the UK Act. So it depends on wherever they have worked, they have tried to pass these acts to kind of ease out their process. But while this, some of the states may have, some of the municipalities, some of the corporations may have these acts, it is very crucial, it is very vital for the center to have some acts, so that, and also judiciary to be given certain amount of power, so that there can be an overlooking, there can be a supervisory power, and no control is given absolutely to the executive, which is not meant to be done even on a even during the normal circumstances. Uh, uh, and I was talking about the public health regulatory. So the public health regulatory body could be formed, which could probably take up, as I was mentioning, the review of these legislations, and to streamline procedures, and to see how they can ease out, these difficult circumstances. We have authorities like TRAI, we have authorities like the Insurance Regulatory Authority. On an economic front, we have grown quite a bit, but unfortunately, with the economy, uh, the we have advanced so much. With the technology, we have advanced so much. Yet, on the public health aspect, even on an international level, we have not progressed much. Um, there was there is a regulations that has been formed by the World Health Organization. It's called International Health Regulations. It The aim of it is to kind of prevent the communicable diseases. So unfortunately, according to one of the theme paper that I had come across, according to it, that was written in 2002. According to it, even the international health regulations, which has provisions to encourage states to come out and give statistics with respect to communicable diseases, uh, it has just slightly backfired, apparently, in terms of, if a country has to come out and expose itself, then there it would lose on the economic front. Nobody would want to do trade with that country. So even on a World Health Organization perspective, we are not strong enough, as we are seeing quite world over, that it is a situation that almost all the countries are facing. We have unfortunately failed to learn from that many number of epidemics that has happened over the course of years. And while we have formulated, so many trade policies, so many economic policies, and focus so much on economy, that much focus has not been provided, unfortunately, to the health sector. Uh, Health itself is defined by WHO to be not separable from human rights and poverty and insecurity. Outbreak is also defined by WHO to mean that it as greater number of people than expected is how it is defined. If the disease spreads to as many number of people than expected. Um, so with this, I would like to just leave you all hanging as to formulating your opinions on how we should, mold the act and have a centralized act. There was even a bill passed in 2017. There was a bill introduced, Public Health Prevention Control, and Management of Epidemics, Bioterrorism and Disasters Bill. Uh, this was introduced apparently to repeal the Epidemic Diseases Act. Unfortunately, it's not seen the light of the day. Um, right now, the need of the hour is to kind of bring that sort of a solidarity, define how, in fact, this sort of a legislation could now, with our experiences, define what are the economic impacts of a diseases, how the state can give that much minimum protection, how there can be a suspension of powers of people, rights of people to sue during these times, because right now, I'm not sure how many of you are aware, the bankruptcy code itself has been suspended. Section 6, 7 and 10 of bankruptcy code has been suspended, and no, for about 6 months, uh, uh, so that no action can be taken, and the corporate debtors, that is the companies, can be protected against further economic loss. So these are, if you look at the legislations today, there are many legislations like the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, uh, aircraft rules, or other environmental rules, which already have many provisions with respect to meeting the requirements, which are many of it are relevant in fact to the day. However, it is very required to bring everything under one umbrella and have a public health act, which is a central act in India, from which each of the state could draw inspiration. Right now, how it is done is by Ministry of Home Affairs in the Family Welfare Department giving government orders, and following the center, each of the states have been passing similar government orders to give effect to the same. Instead, if there was a central legislation all of us could look to, which could cover largely, and also have one, most of the acts have these enabling powers to the government, it just says to make such other rules. So, which means that it could make rules similar to those rules, instead of having to promulgate a fresh set of rules, which in fact unfortunately has to define epidemics diseases itself, and it just refers back to defining it as notified by the government. So it would be easier if there was a medico uh, legal executive sort of a uh, regulatory authority that would be formed and have a centralized legislation. These are my views. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Keshav, for letting me speak for all of your students. Thank you.